Cancer. There is a particular pattern that money follows when it is on its way to a person, and most people have never had it described to them, so they miss the early signs of it. The pattern is not random. It has a recognizable shape, and the shape begins to express itself in a person's life well before any actual money arrives. I want to walk you through what the shape looks like because you are currently inside it. Once you can see the shape, you will be able to recognize what is happening as it happens, rather than only understanding it in retrospect. The recognition is not just satisfying, it is also useful because it allows you to cooperate with what is unfolding rather than accidentally interfering with it. The first feature of the shape is what I will call a softening of obstruction. Things that have been stuck in your life in the financial dimension are beginning to loosen. Not all at once, not dramatically, but noticeably if you are paying attention. A bill comes in lower than expected. A piece of paperwork moves through a process more quickly than you anticipated. A conversation about money goes more smoothly than you had braced for. These small softenings are the early indicators that the larger blockages are beginning to give way. The blockages have been there for some time in various forms. You have been working around them, accommodating them, building your behaviors around their existence. As they soften, you may not initially notice the absence of friction, because friction is something we tend to register only when it is present, not when it is gone. I want you to start noticing the absence. The absence is the first sign. The second feature of the shape is the appearance of small windfalls, amounts of money that arrive in unexpected ways. The amounts are not large. They are easy to dismiss. A refund you did not anticipate. A small payment that comes earlier than expected. Money that someone returns to you that you had forgotten was outstanding. A discount that turns out to be larger than advertised. These small windfalls are precursors. They are the universe testing the channel, sending small amounts to make sure the path is clear and the recipient is in a state to receive. If you receive these small amounts well, with appreciation rather than dismissal, the channel is confirmed and larger amounts can begin to move along it. If you dismiss the small amounts as insignificant, the channel reads as closed, and the larger movements adjust accordingly. I am asking you to receive what is coming, no matter how small. The receiving is part of the practice that allows the larger flow. The third feature of the shape is a quieting of financial fear. You may have been carrying a low-level financial anxiety for a long time. The anxiety has shaped many of your decisions. It has affected what you eat, what you wear, what you buy, what you allow yourself to want. As money begins to flow toward you, the anxiety begins to thin. You may notice this before you notice any actual change in your financial situation. You may simply realize one ordinary day that you have not checked something you usually check compulsively, or that you have not run a particular calculation that you usually run. The compulsion has loosened. The loosening is a sign that your nervous system is registering at a level deeper than your conscious awareness, that the conditions are changing. Trust the loosening. Do not artificially restore the compulsion. Let the relaxation continue. The fourth feature of the shape is the arrival of opportunities that involve money but are not directly about money. People extending invitations to projects, conversations, events that turn out to have financial implications, even when they did not initially appear to. You may receive what looks like an ordinary inquiry that, on closer examination, contains the seed of a paid opportunity. You may be invited into a context where someone notices what you bring and offers compensation that you had not been seeking. You may meet someone in passing who turns out to have a role to play in a financial development that unfolds over the following stretch of time. These opportunities tend to come in clusters after the smaller windfalls have established that the channel is open. The clusters are part of the larger pattern. Pay attention to invitations during this period. Some of them will be more significant than they initially appear. I want to address the larger flow that is approaching because the precursors are pointing towards something more substantial than the precursors themselves. There is a movement of money toward you that is going to occur in a more structured way than the small windfalls have suggested. The movement involves a defined sum arriving through a defined channel in a way that you will be able to trace and account for clearly. It is not going to be mysterious in its source. It will come from somewhere identifiable. The source may be expected in that you have been working toward it, or it may be unexpected in that it arrives from a direction you were not specifically pursuing. Either way, the source will be clear when the movement occurs. You will not be left wondering where the money came from. I want to share something specific about how this larger movement is going to land in your life. It will land at a moment when you are not entirely focused on it. You may be in the middle of doing something else. You may be thinking about something unrelated. The arrival will not announce itself with fanfare. It will arrive in an ordinary moment, perhaps through an ordinary form of communication, and you will have to register in the moments after the arrival that something significant has just occurred. The ordinariness of the arrival is consistent with how genuine financial movements tend to land. Drama is what happens to onlookers. Recipients tend to experience these moments more quietly. Allow the quietness. Do not require the moment to feel as significant as the underlying event is. The significance will reveal itself over the following days as you process what has happened. I want to mention something about the period right after the arrival. There will be a stretch of time, perhaps a few days, perhaps longer, during which you will need to integrate what has occurred. The integration involves your nervous system catching up to the new conditions. Your body, having operated under certain assumptions for a long time, will need a moment to update those assumptions. You may experience a kind of disorientation that is not unpleasant but is unfamiliar. The disorientation is the system updating. Do not interpret it as evidence that something is wrong. Allow the integration to take the time it needs. After the integration, you will feel more settled, with the new conditions absorbed into your sense of normal. I want to address what to do with the resources after they arrive, because this is one of the dimensions where people often make decisions that they later regret. The temptation when significant money arrives is to immediately deploy it, to address all the most pressing issues, to make purchases that have been delayed, to redirect the flow toward problems that have been waiting for resolution. Some of this deployment will be appropriate, but I would gently suggest that you not deploy everything immediately. Allow some of the resources to simply sit while you adjust to having them. The sitting is part of the integration. Money that is allowed to sit without being immediately spent becomes part of the foundation of a different financial life. Money that is immediately spent disappears back into the system that produced the previous conditions, and the previous conditions reassert themselves. Some sitting is required. The duration of the sitting need not be long, but the practice of allowing some of the resources to remain present without being deployed is one of the practices that distinguishes lives that are permanently transformed by financial movements from lives that are temporarily disrupted by them. This is Cancer Tarot, and I want to share an observation about what kind of relationship to money you are being invited into during this period. The relationship that has worked for you up until now has been characterized by careful management of limited resources. You have developed skills at this kind of management. The skills are real. They are not going to be wasted in the new configuration, but the new configuration will require some skills you have had less opportunity to develop. Skills around abundance management, which is different from scarcity management, knowing what to do with surplus, knowing how to allocate without anxiety, knowing how to say yes to opportunities that the previous configuration would have ruled out. These skills will be developed through practice. You will learn them as the new configuration unfolds. Do not expect to have them all at the start. The learning is part of the process. I want to address the question of how long the new conditions will last, because the question of permanence often comes up when significant financial movements occur. Some movements are temporary, some are structural. The movement that is approaching for you is structural. It is not a one-time event that will resolve back into the previous baseline. It is the beginning of a different financial reality that will continue to unfold with its own developments in the period following the initial arrival. You can plan accordingly. You can make decisions that assume the new reality will continue. You can allow yourself to update your sense of what is possible in your life on the basis of these new conditions. The conditions are reliable. They will not vanish. I want to share something about how the people in your life will respond to the changes. Some will respond with joy. The ones whose love for you is uncomplicated will simply be happy that things are going well for you. They will celebrate without complications. Their celebration will be one of the small, unexpected pleasures of the period. Other people may have more complicated reactions. There may be people whose identity has been calibrated to the previous configuration of your life and who do not know how to relate to you in the new configuration. Their adjustment may take time. Some adjustments will succeed, some will not. The relationships that cannot adjust to your new conditions will reveal their structural limitations. This revelation is informative, not catastrophic. It tells you which relationships were calibrated to your well-being and which were calibrated to specific conditions that benefited the other party. Use the information wisely. Continue to invest in the relationships that can hold your flourishing. Allow distance to develop with those that cannot. I want to mention something specific about the texture of how money will move in your life during this period. There will be more decisions to make than you are accustomed to making. The previous configuration produced fewer choices because fewer options were available. The new configuration will produce more choices. You will need to develop a way of making these choices that is sustainable. The way I would suggest is one of measured deliberation. Not impulsivity, not paralysis, measured deliberation. Each significant choice gets some thought, but not so much thought that you exhaust yourself. You can develop a rhythm of deliberating that fits your temperament. The rhythm will become natural over time. In the early stages, it may feel awkward. The awkwardness will pass. I want to address something that I think is the most important element of this entire reading, and it has to do with your worth. The financial movement that is approaching is not coming because you have suddenly become more valuable. You have always been valuable. The previous configuration of your life did not reflect your value accurately. The conditions did not match what you were structurally worth. The new configuration is, in some sense, a correction. The world is updating its accounting, and your value is becoming more accurately reflected in your circumstances. This is significant because it means the change is not contingent on your performing a different version of yourself. You can keep being who you have been, and the conditions will adjust to match what you have always been. You do not have to earn the new conditions through new behavior. You earn them through the long stretch of being who you are, often in conditions that did not adequately reflect that being. I want to take a moment to share an orientation about what makes financial movements sustainable. Because the sustainability is what determines whether the movement becomes a permanent shift or a temporary disruption. The sustainability comes from the alignment between the movement and the person receiving it. If the movement matches what the person is structurally, the movement integrates and stays. If the movement does not match, the movement leaves, often in ways that look like bad luck or poor decisions, but are actually the underlying mismatch expressing itself. The movement approaching you matches you. The matching is what makes it sustainable. You will not lose this through carelessness or poor judgment, because you are not carelessly or poorly judged. You are someone who has developed the inner architecture to hold what is being given. The holding will be one of the most natural things you have ever done. I want to mention something about the gratitude that is going to flow through you during this period. Gratitude is sometimes treated as a polite gesture, but in the context of financial transitions, it is structural. The way you receive what comes will affect how much more comes. This is not because the universe is keeping score. It is because your nervous system, when it learns that good things are met with appreciation rather than anxiety, becomes more open to additional good things. The opening produces a different quality of receiving. The different quality of receiving allows the next layer of movement to land. The cycle continues. Each act of genuine appreciation deepens the channel through which more can flow. I am not asking you to perform gratitude. I am asking you to allow the genuine gratitude that arises to fully express itself. The expression matters. I want to share something about how to handle people who may approach you for help financially after the new conditions have become visible. There may be people in your life who, having noticed your changed circumstances, will find themselves asking for assistance. Some of these requests will be reasonable, some will not. The discernment about which is yours, I would gently suggest a practice. When someone asks for assistance, take a small amount of time to consider, rather than responding immediately. The immediate response is often shaped by social pressure rather than by thoughtful consideration. The slight delay allows you to consider the actual situation, the actual relationship, the actual capacity you have, and what is actually being asked. After the consideration, you can respond with whatever response is appropriate. Some requests you will say yes to, some you will say no to, some you will modify into something different from what was asked. All of these are valid. The validity comes from the consideration, not from the answer. This is Cancer Tarot, and I want to address the larger meaning of what is happening, because financial transitions of this kind often have meanings beyond the financial. The meaning in your case is something like this. You have been living a life that was constrained in ways that did not match your actual potential. The constraints have shaped you in many ways, some helpful, some less so. The new conditions are removing certain constraints, and the removal will allow other dimensions of your potential to develop. You will find yourself doing things you have not previously had the resources to do. You will find yourself thinking about your life differently than the constraints allowed you to think. You will find yourself relating to other people differently, because some of the dynamics that were shaped by the constraints will no longer be operative. The transition is not just financial, it is also developmental. You are being given the conditions to grow into a fuller version of yourself. I want to mention something about the timing of all of this. The smaller precursors are happening now. The larger movement is approaching in a window that is closer than your skepticism would estimate. I cannot give you a specific date. What I can tell you is that the conditions are converging, and that the convergence will produce its result within a stretch that is meaningful within the period this reading is meant to address. You are not in a long waiting phase. You are in a final approach phase. The approach is producing observable signs in your daily life if you are looking for them. The signs are the precursors I described. Continue to notice them. The accumulation of signs is what tells you the larger movement is real even before the larger movement has fully arrived. I want to share a particular practice for the period of approach. Keep a small, informal record of the precursors, not as a serious accounting, just as a way of noticing. When a small windfall occurs, mark it. When an unexpected opportunity arises, mark it. When a friction loosens in a way you can identify, mark it. The accumulating record will accomplish two things. It will give you something to look at when your skeptical mind requires evidence, and it will train your attention to notice good things at the rate they are actually arriving. Most people miss most of the good arriving in their lives because their attention is calibrated for noticing problems. You can recalibrate. The recalibration is part of how you become the person who can hold the larger arrivals when they come. I want to mention something about the period when the larger arrival has integrated and you are living in the new conditions. Life will not be perfect. The new conditions remove certain problems, but they introduce other questions. Questions about how to use what you now have. Questions about what to do with the freed time and energy. Questions about what kind of life you actually want to build with the resources that are now available. These questions are good questions. They are the questions that come from a life that is no longer constrained by survival pressure. You have not had the luxury of these questions in the way you will have it after the integration. The luxury will be one of the gifts. You will discover as you sit with the new questions that you have more clarity about what you want than you may have realized. The clarity has been there. The previous conditions did not allow it to express itself. The new conditions will. I want to address a possible concern. There may be a part of you that is afraid that the new conditions will somehow make you a different person in ways that you do not want to be different. That you will lose certain qualities that have been important to you, that money will change you. I understand the concern. It is rooted in the genuine observation that some people are changed in unfortunate ways by significant financial movements. But I want to suggest that the changing is not the inevitable consequence of money. It is the consequence of how money is held. People who are changed badly by money are usually people who lacked the inner foundation to hold it well. You have the inner foundation. The qualities that have been important to you are not external decorations that money can strip away. They are structural to who you are. They will continue to be structural. The new conditions will give those qualities more room to express themselves, not less. You will not lose what matters about you. You will become more fully who you have been. I want to take a moment to honor the work you have done, because the new conditions are arriving partly in response to that work. You have been showing up. You have been making decisions, often unsupported by easy circumstances, that have demonstrated who you are. You have been continuing to develop yourself in conditions that did not always reward the development. The cumulative effect of all of this has been the construction of a self that the universe can entrust with the new conditions. The trust is not a metaphor. The arrangements that produce financial movements of this kind are not random. They are calibrated to what the recipient can hold. You can hold this. The capacity has been built through your sustained effort over a long stretch. The effort has paid for the readiness. The readiness is being met by the arrival. Here on Cancer Tarot, I want to close this transmission with an emphasis on what to do in the immediate period. Continue your life. Do not wait for the arrival in a way that puts your life on hold. The waiting is more productive when it is integrated into ordinary living rather than separated as a special period of anticipation. Do the things you would have done. Make the plans you would have made. Allow the arrival to find you in the middle of your continuing life rather than in a special suspended state that you have entered for the purpose of receiving. The continuity is part of how the integration becomes smooth. The continuity is what makes the new conditions feel like a natural extension of the life you have been building rather than a disruptive intrusion. You are about to live a different financial reality. The reality is structural. It will continue to unfold in your favor. The unfolding is supported by the inner work you have done, and it will be supported by the continued inner work you do. The conditions will not be undone by carelessness because you are not careless. The conditions will not be lost through poor judgment because your judgment is sound. You can trust the conditions to hold. The holding is the foundation of what comes next. What comes next includes things you cannot currently fully imagine, new projects you will undertake, new people you will meet. New developments in dimensions of your life that have been waiting for the resources to develop. The new chapter will unfold across a longer stretch of time than the immediate financial movement. The financial movement is the doorway. What lies beyond the doorway is a continuing life that has more space, more options, more possibilities than the life you have been living. Walk through the doorway when it opens. The walking is the entire practice. The rest is given. You are loved. You are seen. The work you have done in invisibility is being lifted into visibility gently in a form that you will be able to integrate. The lifting is not a test. It is a delivery. The delivery has your name on it. Receive it. Open your hands. Open your life. The arrival is approaching at a pace that is right for you. You will not be overwhelmed. You will be welcomed into the new conditions with enough time and grace to integrate them properly. The grace is part of how the universe handles transitions of this kind. You can rely on it. The money is coming, not as a fluke, as the appropriate result of who you have become and what you have been preparing for. The preparation is complete. The arrival is in motion. The integration will be smoother than you may currently fear. You will be okay. You will be more than okay. You will be living in conditions that finally match what you have always been worth. The matching is the gift. The gift is yours. The gift is approaching. Receive it. The receiving is enough. There is no other practice required. Walk forward. The doorway is opening. You are exactly where you need to be in relation to it. Stand here. Stay open. Let the arrival find you. It will find you. It is finding you. The finding is happening. The result will be visible soon. You are ready. You have been ready. The being ready is what made this possible. You did the work. The work is paying. The paying continues from here. Trust this. Receive this. Live into this. It is yours.